Ladies and gentlemen, what a day. Joined by my man, Stanford Steve, whose day began at God knows what time in the pitch black in Eugene, Oregon. He joins us now from an airport lounge in San Francisco. Is that accurate? Is that where you are?
Not a lounge, straight bar. We're amongst the people.
All right.
Sorry if I'm being loud, but everybody's trying to get off here. They know that we got red-eye flights.
All right.
Bartender telling me thumbs up if I need one. I'm good. Let's rip.
I mean, look, we've talked a lot about our gigs, what we get to do, how appreciative we are, the whole thing, right? That's understood. Sometimes all the buildup falls flat, and then you get days like this where it's better in a sense than advertised. Spectacular action. I've got so much written down on this card. It's a joke. It's a joke, Steve. And the best game of the day, it's a coin flip, but you are in Eugene.
Yeah.
As you call it, what's Eugene now? It's what?
Big Ten country.
What are we?
I realized that at 4:15 a.m.
As you do.
Pacific time.
As you do.
It's been a while since I was here, Scott. Played here. I've told the story with you and Ryan many a times. First time playing, I believe we had urine poured on us as we ran out of the tunnel.
Not great.
Achilles Smith was on the other side. For the youngsters that don't know, Achilles Smith was a top draft pick in the NFL, went to the Bengals. It didn't work out. His son is actually committed to Oregon, stud 5-star prospect. I was the wedge setter when we back had wedge setters on kickoff return.
Yeah, when we like CTE, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Scott, I fucking did kick return 10 times that day. We got beat 63-28. The ball's getting kicked off over my head, and like by the 6th, I'm like, please be a touchback, please. But no, the renovations, double big board now at Autzen. Mr. Mullins says his best. He's as good as it gets as far as hosting customized Air Force Ones for the crew. Herbie, I don't know. I didn't see the end of the 330s. If Herbie busted his out, I think he had a bend. What do you call picturation? I'm going to make up a word, picturation on his. But it's funny. I was with a bunch of Ohio State people before the game, and I said, have you ever been here? Have you ever? No. And I said, you're going to be impressed. It's that good. And I walk in, and that place is ready to go. And I thought it was awesome how Oregon answered every time. Whether it was, Ohio State goes down, 5-minute drive to start the game. Oregon doesn't look great. They punt. They get a fumble. Short field score. Ohio State comes down and scores. Then Gabriel pulls the deep ball out to Stewart, who was great all day long. And they answered. They didn't take their foot off the gas. And I said on game day, I liked Ohio State because Lanning as an underdog at Oregon hadn't done it yet. They were 0-3. It was the first time they were an underdog in that stadium in 34 games. And all credit to them. They went out and got it. Extra motivation. Obviously, the crowd was awesome for game day. And I really got to tip my cap to the people in Eugene. That staff, what they overcame with the Birch injury.
It was gigantic.
It was awesome.
He's such a difference maker. And you knew the cloak and dagger. I'm like, he's not playing, obviously. And he didn't. And that's as significant a one piece of the puzzle on defense that you could possibly lose for them. And especially against an offense that's as loaded as Ohio State. I thought what first of all, at the end of the game, you just go, well, those are two playoff teams. And obviously it sucks to lose one. And if you're Ohio State, you can complain about the Smith push-up. He shoved him. And the problem for him is for a young man, he's a grown man already. And when you're out there in space, which is something I wanted to mention, it's going to be kind of obvious. And the thing that blows my mind about not one side, but both sides, Ohio State and Oregon do an incredible job of getting their best player out in space And even if it's your best one, good on good, doesn't make any difference because the guys that they've got out in space are going to make plays, and they both sides did. The skill guys for Ohio State are spectacular, but I thought it was really interesting, Steve. Stewart, Johnson, James, those are the touchdown scorers for Oregon. These are their difference makers. Gabriel was, I thought, both he and Howard were incredible. How about these numbers? 28-35 for Howard, 23-34 for Gabriel. Neither one threw a pick. They both threw 2 touchdowns. In the end, Howard doesn't slide in time. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the end, that's how you lose a game. There's an OPI and he doesn't slide in time, and it's a 1-point difference. And honestly, that feels about right to me. If Ohio State would have won on a kick, I'd have gone, yeah, okay. But they didn't. And at the end, I walk away from a game going, those are 2 not good but great teams, playoff teams that could win a title, and it's everything that you could ask for. You mentioned the crowd; it was a record. It's not a giant place; it's only 60,000, but it's plenty. It's plenty, and there was plenty. There's plenty of Ohio State. That fan base. You guys are tough to deal with. You guys are a lot.
Right
what?
Here.
Tip of the cap. No, because that ain't close to Columbus, man. But you all, I mean, you guys are evident with your noise and with your color, and that scene, that's perfection in college football. The entirety of what that was.
Like I said, it brought me back a lot. I've been here for some absolutely mayhem games. I played against them, put up 60 against me. Luck team here
10 kickoffs.
Built a big lead, and Oregon came back with Chip. Mariota, huge favorite against Stanford. Hurts quiets the building. I walk into the cooler across the street. I'm yelling. Everybody's all ducked up on Quack. Like, I've had my moments here. And for it to be this long, it was awesome. They're, I wouldn't say nervousness, but they knew who was coming to town. And then you'll love this.
I like that a lot.
You check into a hotel. And, whatever, you email number, whatever. I get text today at about 3:30.
A.M.?
If you're flying out of the
A.M.?
No, P.M.
Oh, okay.
P.M. If you're flying out of the Eugene airport tomorrow, be careful. It's slated as the biggest day ever in the history of Eugene Airport. There's about 6 gates at that airport. And they added Columbus straight flights tomorrow. So that's another reason I got out of there. But it was awesome, man. It was cool. I was, at some tailgates walking through. People, I mean, those aren't the most cordial fan bases, especially when they, start tipping them.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you get covered in urine, I mean, that's not a very nice hello.
I'll just say it's happened.
There you go. Not to me, but I love the picture you paint because they're new. And Oregon is not one. I call it the unlimited NIL Bowl in winners. By the way, 6-2, no big deal. 12-2 last 2.
I was going to say you had to crush it this week.
Last 2 weeks, 12-2. It's no big deal. Head down. We continue. Now we go. But the unlimited NIL Bowl. You got Uncle Phil, you got Autzen, you got history. It's new. You're new money, but who gives a shit? I always thought like, oh, they're new money. I don't care. If I got it, I got it, and they've got it. New history, fine. But you're new in this conference, and who's the even though Michigan's the reigning champ, the heavyweight's coming to town. That's what Ohio State is. They're the heavyweight. They're the one who knocks. They're the ones with a $20 million plus salary cap or whatever it is, and they're gonna come in like a horde of locusts, man. And I actually mean that in a positive way because they're coming with numbers, man, and they did. And so, to me, it's the perfect October football game because if you're Ryan Day and you're Ohio State, you're pissed because there's stuff you can clean up, and you take an L. You don't want to do that, but you don't leave that game, at least I don't, thinking anything other than that team could win the title. So tip of the cap to both teams.
No doubt. And I thought it was big. As I mentioned, I picked Ohio State because Oregon hadn't won a game as an underdog with Lanning at the helm.
Right.
And they overcame some decisions he made, which I thought were questionable. But you know what? What do we always say? Stay in the fight.
They did.
Stay in the fight.
And he said that afterwards.
Oregon
He said, my guys fight. They work on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I don't know. I loved it. Now,
it was awesome.
So was USC and Penn State. I said on winners, this game goes a long way to deciding which way USC's season goes. I took USC plus the points because I thought it would be exactly what it was. But Penn State did something, and they know this, but because I'm the one saying it, it might piss them off. But it's a fact, and you know it. You won a game today, you never win. Ever. You don't win those games. You don't win a game on the road against a similar weight class down 14 points at the half. You don't. And they did. And they deserved it because they stayed in the fight. They made adjustments at the half. Aller's a different dude. That offense is different. They had over 500 and something yards of offense. And
how about Warren? Best athlete on the field. Well, it's not even close.
I knew I wasn't going to have to tee you up on that. On. The dude had 17 catches for 224 yards and a tutter.
He took multiple snaps at quarterback.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? But the thing about them that the credit to the defense, too, for this, Aller got picked 3 times. Twice Penn State's defense gave USC's offense the Matumbo and said, nope, you might get 3, but that's it. And that's such a gigantic difference in a game like this, where it literally, like USC, Oregon State, USC, Ohio State, I beg your pardon. Ohio State, Oregon. It's, you know what? Get the gist. In a game, and like the Ohio State-Oregon game, it was, okay, who's going to have the ball here? And when USC took the lead, it's like, all right, Aller, you were that dude. I've talked through the years about how I liked Clifford. I thought Clifford was a better quarterback than the Penn State fan base did. Like, you guys act like he's a bum, and he wasn't. And Aller's going to be the guy. And last year against Ohio State and Michigan, he wasn't, but he was new. But guess what? That was the guy you guys hoped he would be, because you go on a 12-play, I think it was, 75-yard drive, 2 fourth-down conversions, and who is it to? Interestingly enough, a 5-star guy, Julian Fleming, who when he came out went to Ohio State. That wide receiver room's so packed. It never really happened for him the way it has for a lot of those other dudes, just because look at who else is there. By the way, if I didn't mention Jeremiah Smith, good God, his numbers for Ohio State, he's every bit of what you think he is. Back to Fleming, the 2 huge 4th downs, but Aller ties it up. And then SC is methodically driving, and this is where I know you got a blind spot because you're traveling. It was tricky because they didn't want to leave Penn State a bunch of time late if they didn't get into field goal range. But I thought they allowed so much time to get exhausted. There was like 14 seconds left when they tried, and it was actually a pass that got picked. I just hated the way they managed the end of that game because it felt a little bit like the way Cincinnati played against Baltimore when they lost to them in overtime. You were able to move the ball mostly and let Moss be aggressive because he can do it. And then they weren't. I felt like they were way too cautious there. Oh, we'll play for overtime. Then their guy misses a kick in overtime, and Penn State's new kicker, they'd struggled at that position.
Lefty.
Drilled it, man. And again, all the credit in the world. That is such a massive win for Penn State because it's by far the best team you've played this year. You took their absolute best shot, and you ate those punches. And you had to because I keep saying Ohio State. USC was throwing them. But you're down 14 at the half, and you're like, all right, stay in the fight. Where is Warren? Throw him the ball. Oh. And then they win the game they don't win. Why? And so, look, USC's not going to be a playoff team because they've lost 3 games. But you don't want them. James Franklin said it afterwards, and he's not wrong. They got as much talent as anybody. Anybody. But they've lost a couple of heartbreakers. I mean, look at how they lost to Penn State. Look at how they lost to Michigan. They lost in the last minute last week at Sky Ula against Minnesota. So that game I thought was amazing. And that Penn State fan base has got to feel like they turned a corner, just in the sense that they won the game where the game script isn't one that they typically win. I don't know how much of it you saw.
No, here's a couple things. First of all, new ultimate 1 seed in uniform games. That was it. That thing was spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean, my defensive guys on Penn State, they got the spat going. The all whites for Penn State. SC, I've always wondered which one I like better because I hate them both. But their homes against the all whites, it was so good. And it's funny, it was real interesting. The Oregon people wanted to show out today because they're the new against Ohio State.
Right.
And we're all watching that game together today because SC is in the same position, the new against the old Big Ten. And I, started talking, people, obviously the Ohio State people were really confident, but I said, I'm going to tell you one thing right here. I think Ohio State's better than they were last year. I think Penn State is better than they were last year.
Okay.
I'm not sure about Oregon. And they're the team that overcame everything. But just going back to Penn State, super, super damn impressive. And that game could have got out of hand, as you mentioned, early on. I thought it was a bullshit OPI call on the first string.
I agree. I'm glad you brought that up.
That can't be called.
I agree with that.
That cannot be called.
That's a touchdown.
He's trying to run vertical. He's trying to run vertical.
I agree with that. And it's the kind of thing that on a day like this, where there's that many layers of things that happen, it's easy to forget it in the end because they overcame it. But you're right. That's you can't make that call.
And SC right there, they're on the verge. Those fans, they're wondering if they're going to have 2 beers at the game or 3 beers. And that made them stay for the third. And then all of a sudden, Moss, I love the kid.
I know you do.
He keeps getting up. He keeps getting up off the deck. But I will say this with SC, and this is what everybody wondered about. Look at the games they've lost. It's all fourth quarter, and you've got to sign up for 60. We say it all the time. SC is not there yet. Penn State, to your point, they haven't in those games where they are, or they, the big name teams. And they did it. And they flew across the country. They bucked the trend. They got the win. It was 1-8. The Big Ten teams that have flown 2 or more time zones, they got the win. They didn't cover, which is another problem.
No, it's not. Not if you took if you took the points, it's not.
Yeah. Donut over here, 0-3.
Really?
Yeah.
Sorry, listen. When I was down,
Scott, I don't care. I had so much freaking fun today. I don't care what my record was.
Love it. Hear that, America? When he gives out picks and he loses, he doesn't give a shit. Not a bit. He's in a lounge.
No haymakers from Saban today. I was good. Coach walked in, gave me a pat on the back yesterday in the meeting. He said, "We all good?" I said, "Yeah." Your daughter sent me a message. She said, "My dad lost his mind last week." He said, "That's not the first time she said it."
Hey, listen, I had a clean KO is what I had. And I said he didn't know the Alpha Phi stories, but maybe he shouldn't.
No, all good.
So those are the best in that 3. By the way, I realized this. There's a lot about this Big Ten stuff makes no damn sense. The uniform games are great, but you know what else I realized? Getting an early start in the Coliseum is gorgeous. You never see that, and you saw it with Wisconsin, and you saw it today. They probably hate it because that's just
no. They like it. They like it.
Do they? They don't mind the early start time.
No,
it's interesting.
No,
it just looks beautiful. The aesthetic of that game was just.
They don't care what time it is out here, Scott.
That's a good point.
It's so nice.
East Coasters, again.
Hey,
I'm just excited. I didn't sit down at 2:40 tonight to start the pot. By the way,
we got to get the Baton Rouge.
Not yet. Be patient.
Oh.
Because I'm gonna do a little producing here. Because I'm gonna Bama, Tennessee next week, right?
Yeah.
Well, they both won.
Mm-hmm.
But Bama messed around today and left the door open for a South Carolina team that deserves a ton of credit because coming off a loss, you figure you're going to get a very focused Bama effort, right? The board's not going to wear a T-shirt. Dudes aren't going to pitch fits. Sign up for 60. Grind South Carolina into dust. 14 nothing.
Yep.
As advertised. But a funny thing happened on the way to a blowout. And South Carolina's got some dudes on both sides. And I'm not trying to name drop, but Buddy's Darius Rucker, I said, buddy, after they lost, the way they lost, I said, man, I've lived this. It's on the Maryland side, the last couple of years, they played close games with Michigan, went into the big house last year, had the lead in the second half. It's like, but it's hard to win when you're swimming in the really deep waters. And he's like, I know it, bro. And they had a chance, had the lead. Bama takes the lead. And then I want to ask you something. Because it's 20-19. Milroe throws a touchdown pass with under 2 minutes to go. And I think it was Bernard that caught it. I'm not positive.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. He catches it at about the 5. You've been the guy. If I throw it to you in that situation on a third down and you catch it, you're scoring because you're scoring, right? Like, you're just going to score. But if I'm coaching my guys in that situation, I'm saying, fellas, if you get a first down, go down because the only way you can lose is if we're still playing football. You follow me? And even if you score a touchdown, listen, if you score, I get it. I see you shake your head. Just hear me out. You score the touchdown. You score the touchdown and go 8. Cool. But now we're still playing football. We're not playing snap and take a knee. And by still playing football, you allow Nick Harbor, one of the all-time freak athletes in America, to make an incredible catch.
A1.
To make an incredible catch. Now you got to survive a 2-point conversion because you're still playing football. You didn't just take knees, play the fight song, play the alma mater, and go to wherever you want to go in T-Town. Then they get the onside kick, and now you're really playing football. And I don't want to get this bogged down in, but I'm just curious, as a guy that's been the guy, if this is just the ultimate dude on his couch saying, you got to go down there, you can't score.
I don't think he could have, Scott. The way he caught the ball, I think he had to score or else he was going to go out of bounds.
But run out of bounds.
And in that spot, he was nude.
It's human nature.
Great play call.
Of course.
I think.
And it's, I don't know how anyone could stop themselves. His momentum would have carried him out of bounds, but even so, you're still taking knees and you still win the game, and you don't have to deal with all that nervousness. Okay, that's just my question. I understand what you're saying.
You're in the moment.
Totally
you're looking at that
that
pylon. What are you going to get? What are you going to do? Right?
Entirely fair answer. I accept that as making total sense. But let's just push back and say that's a game where I give credit to South Carolina because they earned credit. But the Bama side's got some loose lug nuts. They got to tighten some stuff up. But so does Tennessee. I don't know how much you saw your flying. I don't know what you saw of them.
Let's go to Bama first.
Okay, I'll get to Tennessee in a minute.
I didn't see a second of Florida.
Tennessee. I can help you out with that.
Milroe is the problem, Scott. I honestly thought after he gets the grounding call, then he throws the pick, I was honestly wondering if he was going to get benched. Those are two decisions you cannot make. And you're up 14-0, everybody's sky high. That place is good to go. Yep. Sellers make some plays, great drive. And all of a sudden, you're losing after the first drive of the third quarter. But that was on Milroe to me. And I give him credit. After those two horrific mistakes, he waited to shake every guy's hand going into the locker room. And that showed me something where I don't think he was last year. And Coach Saban always talks about how much more vocal he is now, and you talk about the guys. that was a moment right there. And I thought Katie George did a great job with her questions to DeBoer going in the locker room, because right before she talks to him, they're showing Milroe give the handshakes. But that was all on him in the first half. That none of that happens. But he's not a processor, and that safety in the end zone, he never saw their best pass rusher right in his face. He's 5 feet from him. He alters a route, then he throws a bad pick on the out route, and that's DeBoer's. DeBoer's going to keep going at the end of the half. Like, Tess came out, and it's like, I think it was minute 20, and he's like, I wonder what Alabama's going to do here. There's no doubt in my mind that they're going to keep trying, and it backfires huge, but they still won.
Correct.
I will give them that, because that field goal goes up. You're like, that goes in. I don't know if it's happening.
Yeah,
South Carolina misses the field goal.
Right, and that's been an issue for them a couple of times this year against LSU earlier in the year, and in this game that's not a strength for them. At the end, do you win or do you lose? Right? I mean, every cliche about, do you want to be 1-0 today? Yes. Alabama was 1-0 today,
especially after the 2 weeks that Bama had.
Agreed. Yeah. But there's more than a couple little issues here that make you wonder. Mm-hmm. All right, what are they? And now they go play Tennessee, and I'll just tell you, Steve, this is the second week in a row that Tennessee was down 3-0 at the half and should have been down a whole lot more. Tennessee largely was outplayed by Florida, statistically dominated by Florida. It's 10-0 when Mertz hurts himself. And I know that this is a guy, whether it was at Wisconsin or for chunks of time with Florida, where his own fan base has been like, get him out of there. And you got Lagway, and this freshman's got some eye-popping stuff that he does. But it's 10-0, and he gets hurt on a touchdown, and the game changes. But Tennessee's offense 2 weeks in a row looks bad, like bad. And they took the lead, and instead of kind of trying to, their ground game I always think is pretty solid. They're taking these deep shots and didn't hit a one. And it opens the door for Florida to go down there, and all credit to them, they tie it. I'm texting with a dear friend who's a Gator fan, and he's like, you got to go for two. And I said, I disagree, because you've held Tennessee's offense.
Was it your wife?
No.
Was it your wife?
No. They shut it down. We had a lot going on. We got flag early a.m. She's going to wake up, find out they lost in overtime, and it's going to be a rough start to the day.
Come on.
But I didn't mind not going for two, because the way Tennessee's offense had looked, I think you can hold them to a field goal attempt. As it turns out, Florida goes backwards in overtime. They miss the kick, and then Tennessee, they get going downhill. What do you know? Running the ball. They run it and score, and they win. So both Tennessee and Alabama win games where neither was like, wow, look at them. And that's 2 weeks in a row for Tennessee, where offensively, I mean, people were riding that sort of bandwagon and hype train, and it.
Offensive line. It's the offensive line, Scott.
Okay.
There's no consistency. And you saw Arkansas have a blueprint.
You also don't have to throw fastballs on every don't have to throw fastballs every pitch.
Understood.
Okay.
But the defenses are dictating the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
And that's what's happening. And look at what we keep getting. I mean, game-wise, people keep talking the playoffs going to take away from the regular season. Are you kidding me? What we've had the last 2 weeks alone, where I've been, it's incredible. And then next week, we get Bama, Tennessee leading in to Georgia and the number one team in the country.
Yeah. Texas, by the way, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but that Oklahoma offense, speaking of offenses, But
you knew that Texas, it wasn't pretty early on, but you knew Texas was going to have to do that. They were going to have to withstand the fury.
They did. And imagine Oklahoma being a look-ahead game for them. And it's not, because I wouldn't do that to the State Fair and Red River and all of that. I wouldn't. But I mean, Georgia, Texas next week. I don't have a ton on that game because it really wasn't particularly close. It was OU's defense kept them in it as long as it could.
No. You got to lean on that matchup next week, though?
I don't know.
Either of those?
Got to see numbers, Steve. You know me. I'm going to
All right, what do you make the line? Bama, Tennessee, and Georgia, Texas.
Where's the game? The game's in Austin, Texas?
Knoxville for Bama.
Okay. Well, these are.
I think Bama's favorite. Tennessee's favorite.
I agree with that, but it's going to be short.
3.
Exactly. That sounds about right. And Texas is going to be given about. Texas will be given.
Don't say 4.
You think it's less than that?
I think it's 4.
I think it's more than that.
Wow.
They were given 17 by the time they kicked today, and it wasn't enough.
How did those? Where are those guys right now that move that line? Because they're having a good time.
Private aviation, oil money, dude. Watch, that's going to be bigger than that. I guarantee it.
That thing was at 14. We taped College Football Live yesterday at site. It was 14. I wake up this morning and we're doing Super Dogs, and McAfee takes Oklahoma. He's like, I'm getting 17. Give me them.
Nah, that's a Billy Walters type. Yeah. And whoever's on the phone's got an accent. I mean, he said, tell him a super condo steamer is on the blower. Yeah, I want the horns. What's the table limit? I need the table limit.
We got sicko committee's game of the year in bad beats this week.
What, George?
Did you see Ball State, Kent State?
Oh, it's bad, but I don't know if you're familiar with what happened with Marshall and Georgia Southern this evening.
Or Georgia Tech.
Wow. Yeah, that was a doozy. That was a doozy.
Nice.
Speaking of doozies,
sorry to interrupt.
No. You've waited.
Can we talk about bad?
You've waited long enough. This disclaimer before we get going. We've made it clear through the years. Back in the day, SVP and Rosillo, Stanford Steve. As always, the obligatory shout out to our guy Brandon, Lil Velvet, all the people down in BR. I texted Swagoo and RC when the game ended. I'm like, I love Louisiana people. I love them. And that game tonight, I tweeted something about it. That the gist of it is just that there's that place, the voodoo in that place in a night game such as this, where Ole Miss felt like it had a chance. It had multiple chances to put this thing on ice. But it couldn't because the voodoo in the building would not allow it to do so. It was like it was written.
Nope.
It was written that it will be a 7-point game late and Nussmeier will be running around for his life. And he'll find a tight end because they always have one. This gentleman's name is Mason Taylor, 8'6".
Mason Taylor.
Big 8'6".
86.
Okay.
Makes great genes.
And it is mandated that a receiver from New Orleans, Louisiana, Anderson, will catch a touchdown, which will force overtime. And it is mandated that somebody from Thibodeau will catch the touchdown that wins it. That was Kyron Lacey in overtime. It's just, it's all been written on the ancient scrolls. You just have to know where to look. What an insane football game. Lane and Ole Miss has got to be going back to Oxford going, how in the fuck did we lose that football game? Right?
But, Scott, one more. I just ordered one more water.
Barkeep, Cerveza.
And one of these.
There you go. Whatever these are. I believe we saw the limes in a short glass. You've been up
lemon,
since.
Sir.
There you
lemon.
go.
2:30 a.m.
It's fine.
Anyway, sorry to people. You get those people on too that have to listen to me. But you knew this coming in. You talk about the voodoo.
Of course.
Looking at Saban's face yesterday when I asked him, I said, Coach, we're showing you wearing the purple tomorrow because this is the last time top 15 teams in Ole Miss and LSU played. Nick was the coach. Eli Manning was the quarterback. Eli tripped and fell. LSU wins that game. If they lose that game, they don't go to the SEC title game, and they don't win a national title. That's how significant that game was. So going into this, Ole Miss 7 in a row, they've lost in Baton Rouge. Brian Kelly, undefeated, now 13-0 in Saturday night games in Tiger Stadium. As you pointed out, we know what that place is. Talking to guys down there today, texting, hey, what are we thinking, blah, blah, blah. They told me the time after Bama came after Yeldon, I think that was 10 years ago.
Sounds right.
This was the toughest ticket. And when they mentioned that at Tiger Stadium,
right, the get in.
Ain't no credit card for that one, bro. No. That's cash.
Yeah, you better.
That's cash.
You better have that big. You better have that big nut in the right pocket with a rubber band. That's strictly hundos and a rubber band that you're gonna peel off.
And I went back and forth all week this week about that game because I thought LSU had the advantage because of their offensive line. And when I watched Ole Miss, Jackson Dart got hit a lot this year. And LSU came out and battled, took the lead, which you didn't think was going to happen because if you don't take the lead in that place, it's a whole other story.
Well, hold on just a second.
But LSU,
that Ole Miss defense, when I think Ole Miss, I think lane, eye candy, athletes all over. My guy Trey Harris, right? That's number 9.
Yeah.
He had the single worst drop I've ever seen, but he made up it with the single sickest catch I've seen in the same game. I think that their defense, the Rebs' defense tonight was awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Because it was haymaker after haymaker, and the defenses kept turning the other over. But then anytime it felt like Nussmeier on that offense might do the thing I thought was inevitably going to happen because it had been written, Ole Miss's defense was like, nope. And then in the end, it had to happen because the voodoo says, I interrupted, I apologize, it's rude. But I just think Ole Miss's defense really opened my eyes tonight, and I thought, I'll be damned, they're going to not steal it, they're going to get out of here because they earned it. But in the end, they couldn't. But go ahead.
I could just go back to the most interesting game because I hemmed and hawed which way this was going to go all week. And in the end, you see the injuries. LSU, again, down 2 receivers. But I just kept thinking Saturday night, that Ole Miss O-line is, can they play 60? Because Blake Baker, who they paid a boatload of money, I think the most for a defense coordinator in the country at LSU, they were going to keep dialing it up and keep dialing it up. And Ole Miss had the ball plenty of times with the lead where they couldn't take that next step.
No, they needed it.
And that's where I think it's got to be so frustrating because when we talk about Lane Kiffin, we know he's a great play caller. We know what he's done. I thought it was the smartest thing he did in any coaching tenure he's ever had. He got guys on the defensive line that you just pointed out that balled out tonight, but they couldn't do it for 60. And then Ole Miss couldn't win it. Ole Miss has to win that game.
Yep.
We talked about months ago. This was the time. If Bama gets a new head coach, LSU's kind of teetering. You don't know what Tennessee's going to be. This was the time. I don't know if they're going to go to the playoff. And that's my most frustrating thing is I mentioned the playoff taken away from regular season. We haven't seen that yet, but there's going to be, I'm starting to come to it. There's going to be some good football teams that don't make the playoff.
That's tough.
There really are.
Tough shit.
One of those.
Tough shit.
Yeah,
Gotta win.
No, I'm just.
It's 20-16. It's 20-16,
yeah.
And you got to go up 27-16, and they couldn't do it. And when they kicked the field goal,
you know it
1,000,000%. If you've ever been in that joint, you're like, here it comes. I don't know how, and however it happens, it's going to be messed up. And you got Taylor falling down, elbow on the ground. I'm like, he scored. Oh my God, he's down. They're never going to score. Oh yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. And Ole Miss, they went like 20 yards backwards. Their kicker made a 57-yarder in overtime. I think it was the first play that they hit the touchdown and win the game. And I mean, what's the old line? The sun has found its home in the western sky, and it's nighttime in Tiger Stadium, or nighttime in Death Valley. That's what I said on Winners. You're giving me points, brother, every single time. You don't have to ask twice. It's like doubling down on 11. You don't have to ask. It's a given. And I didn't know how they were going to get there, but they got there. I don't think they were better. I don't know that they were better. But Ole Miss had.
I don't know if Oregon was better either. But
maybe
you know
not.
what? You say it, win the games. But here's the other thing with LSU. That game goes to overtime, and I'm watching it. I'm like, and they're showing the crowd, not a person has left. And I'm like, I know those bastards are drinking all night. You might as well play all night.
Yeah.
Like it was there for the take.
Yeah.
God, it was so good.
Yeah. Where are we going?
So good.
Gretna? No, we're good. We'll stay right here. Shout out to Gretna.
Oh man.
My God. And I have so much more written down. Can I go rapid fire?
Go. Look at that note card.
I mean, it's just.
Go
ahead.
Were your kids making fun of you while you were taking notes?
No, they get it. They understand that this is.
Right,
I mean,
good.
it's.
I appreciate that. Because my kids would just steal my pen and then steal my card, and I wouldn't have it.
I got to go back to Friday. Not gonna. No. Snake Pit not on the agenda.
No. I know what you're going to.
Dillingham. Scattaboo. That young dude, youngest coach in the power conferences, right? And that team, I think their over-under in Vegas for wins for the season was like 4.5. Well, they went over last night, and they played. Rising's not right. He's clearly still hurt. But Utah, I've raved about him. I said it's like they'll hit your toe with a hammer for 3 hours. They're physical. They'll pound you. Arizona State signed up for 60, my man. And I don't know what their ceiling is this year, but
don't care.
Exactly. That's a night for their young coach and that team to be damn proud of what they accomplished, because that is a rugged group of men that came in from Utah. And Arizona State got the win, and I don't want to miss the chance to say shout to them. That conference mayhem.
What's the Colorado score?
24-14, Kansas State, early fourth.
Oh, wow. That even tosses it up even more, because West Virginia was undefeated.
No, Iowa State was. Yeah. Iowa State went to West Virginia. Impressive.
No, West Virginia was undefeated in the Big 12.
Well, they got beat tonight. Iowa State went in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And you know what I thought about with Matt Campbell? Here's a guy that was the hot name in coaching. Then he was taking every job, except he didn't. And then the bloom was a little bit off that rose. And now he's dug his boots in, and they've gotten back to this 6-0. I looked at their schedule, and I'm trying to figure out where for the two unbeatens in the Big 12. BYU 6-0. I don't know if I totally missed the read on that, because I loved Arizona in winners. They drove right down the field a couple of times. One time I got a turnover, another time a stop on downs. But BYU, they turned Arizona over 4 times. Offensively, they get chunk plays. They can run it on you. They're impressive. It's an impressive team, BYU. We were recording this one night when they were beating the absolute breaks off of Kansas State, who just got a pick on Colorado in the red zone. And I'm trying to figure out, Steve, is there an obvious here's where it goes wrong for them? BYU, I mean, they play Utah in
Holy War
at Utah early November. Iowa State's got to go to Utah. Texas Tech hasn't lost in the Big 12 either. They come to Ames. They go to Jack Trice, and Kansas State goes there as well. So a couple of unbeatens, but it doesn't feel like there's any one giant, like, I thought the West Virginia game that smelled like a trap door for Iowa State, and they were behind early. And their defense kept turning the Mountaineers over. That was an impressive win for them.
I just want to give a little story there with West Virginia and Iowa State. Rocco Beck, hold on, what should I tip this guy?
A lot. Don't be cheap.
Yeah. No, we're going to go, because he was awesome.
All right. He was awesome for Stanford Steve. Like, I don't know what are we talking about? You know what? A lot. Let's just say a lot.
Not $200.
Well, I didn't say it should be $200.
There you go.
We just hand out a hundo. You feel like you're a mob. You feel like a mob guy. If everybody gets,
If everybody
gets a honeybee, you feel like you.
Make sure I get my card back.
Well,
thanks. All right, we're good.
I'm strictly a cash.
No, this is a really cool story because Rocco Beck, the quarterback for Iowa State, his dad, Anthony Beck, who's
of course
a guy I talked to a lot, head coach of the Battlehawks, I believe, in the UFL. It is. Talked with Anthony a bunch last year when Rocco got things going. I reached out and I just said, this is awesome. Anthony Beck got his number retired at Morgantown today. Rocco Beck comes in as an undefeated Iowa State quarterback. He tells me Rocco had the game circled for 5 months. Like, can you imagine, Scott, the emotion of seeing your dad get his number retired and you're going out there as an undefeated ranked team, coal miner uniforms, the whole, like that, like we talk about Tiger Stadiums, that's our favorite. West Virginia night game, I've been there. It's up there, man. And to go in there in a spot where, everybody last week went in as a short road favorite and spit the bit. And you come out and you get it. Like, I can't imagine what was going through that kid's head. Mm-hmm. I think it's so awesome what Matt Campbell has done. I also think it's pretty eye-opening. Matt Campbell, like, didn't even go on game day when game day went to Ames, and he let us in for his speech to the team last night. Like, that's really cool stuff in the sport, man. And I'm really rooting for them. Like that's like, you talk about taking the next step. Like, we talk about this playoff and what teams are going to get in and where are they going to come from? Like, there's a straight path for Iowa State, and the belief that they had in the locker room before the season started, like, they're more than halfway there, and it's just that's awesome. It's awesome to me, and I'm pumped for them.
Tonight's a giant step. Any road win is a giant step. Yeah. They've got to go to Utah, as I said, and Texas Tech has shown that they are they're more than a little bit of a handful there. They have not lost in that conference. They've only lost one game, and again, Kansas State comes to Ames as well. So those are a couple of unbeatens in the Big 12. There's an unbeaten in the ACC I want to mention, and it's Pitt. I watched them.
Yes.
Hail to Pitt. But you had 9 fewer first downs. You had 17 minutes fewer time of possession. You had more than 50, or however, Cal had 50 plus more yards than you. Half your rushing yards came on a 4th and 1 from your own side of the 30 that went 70-something the other way. That was a gutsy move right there. All credit to you. And I picked Cal plus the number, and they got there barely. They missed a field goal late that would have given them the lead. They've had they got 3 losses, and they're all pretty excruciating because they could have beat Florida.
I think they have 3. They have 3 conference losses by like 10 points.
Could have got Florida State,
maybe less.
Could have got Florida State. They lost by 5. Could have got Miami.
5, 1, and 2.
There you go. What's that add up to?
8 points.
Ouch. And by the way, Pitt, Miami, and Florida State are conference games for Cal.
Correct.
Because sure they are. But watching the game, and again, look, if you're 6-0, A, you're bowl eligible, and B, you haven't lost a game. So you don't give a shit what it looks like. But it didn't look great, is all I'm saying. On a day where you watch some others, like watch BYU get to 6-0, you're like, that was an Arizona team I thought was going to come in and battle you, maybe beat you. Nope. Pitt was just kind of hanging on for dear life there. They didn't do a whole heck of a lot. And again, part of it's credit to Cal, but it wasn't a wow, but who cares? Because just like Alabama, at the end of the day, all you wanted to do today was be 1-0, and it adds up to 6-0 for Pitt. I got another 6-0 for you, Steve. Here's the clue. They've won by 35, 17, 23, 28, 42, and 34.
Really?
I'm going to fight. Then when I get tired, I'm going to lay down, bleed a little. Then I'm going to get up, fight some more.
They're there, man.
Fight some more.
They're there.
Fight, fight, fight. Army is a wagon. 6-0. They gave UAB a dose. I believe they had scored 20 points on 14 plays in the first half, Army had. 6-0 for the first time since I don't know what, but
4 horsemen.
Sure. Say it.
Make it up.
Yeah, there was no Twitter. I know that.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
It's late. It's early.
No one's listening.
No, actually, that's not true. People enjoy this. People enjoy this. I think they're happy you're back. It was just me last week at 2:40 in the morning just rambling like a buffoon. But Army, yeah, I was going to say, these aren't lottery numbers. 35, 17, 23, 28, 42, 34. Haven't played a close game. Beat the brakes off everybody. And speaking of beat the brakes off, since Clemson got stomped by Georgia week 1, they've won 5 games by 147 points. Told you a couple weeks ago, a lot of people were having fun getting those shovels out and tossing dirt on old Dabo. He doesn't go to the portal. It's passed him by. Has it?
You know what? You know how much time he saved not going into the portal?
I don't know.
I think Dabo's sleeping pretty good.
I mean, listen. They got beat. They got beat bad early by Georgia. Yeah, but they had, and look, the ACC's got Miami who hasn't lost. They've got Pitt who hasn't lost. So there's some people out there, but Clemson right now looks, and I say this because Miami has had a couple where they're like, oof, little tenuous there. Clemson looks like as they're as good as anybody clearly in the ACC. It doesn't matter if they're the best or not. You don't have to be the best today. You just need to be the best.
No, it's just you start wondering about, Coach Saban said it today. It's like, all right, week 7, you have your identity, you know what you're good at, this and that. But now I'm like, now we got to start trying to figure out the playoff and the conference. Like Big 12's one bid, ACC looks like 2 bid. This SEC is good. How the hell is that going to play out?
Well, I'll tell you what.
Has a loss. Like everything's just throw it up.
It's
nuts.
I have a name written down, 2 words. Clark Lee.
Did it. Wow.
Anchor down. I faded you. This was the all-time. You won.
Yes. We talked about it on the show.
Chuck the goalposts in the Cumberland River. This is the high water mark. But I tell you what, everybody and every team's got a social media account that's really good. And everybody's got a guy or a girl or a team that can take the cut-ups of practice and the coach's messages, and they can put together a hype video that makes you think every team can win every game. But I really do think that this guy is creating something that's real. And Diego Pavia, right?
Yeah.
Bama couldn't get him off the field last week.
No.
But their defense did enough tonight. And obviously, the Lexington, Kentucky's offense isn't its calling card, clearly. But I just figured Vegas made them a 2-touchdown dog, and I'm like, well, This is screaming at me. I'm not in the business of laying 14 to anybody. But if you beat Bama and then you're catching that, well, all right, I'm listening. Well, I shouldn't have picked up because Vandy backing up the win over Bama, which could have easily been enough and would have been in the old days for a Vanderbilt team like, look at us. Nah, man. Business trip to Lexington. I don't know who they play next. I don't have my phone in front of me.
I know they got Texas coming to them.
Texas comes to them after Georgia, which suddenly becomes a careful,
Hey,
Herbie,
get out of there alive.
Kirk, your show all through the years always careful. All of a sudden, Nashville and Coach Saban. By the way, Coach Saban wasn't wrong when he said that was the easy place to play. Okay, you can heckle him, you can troll him. He wasn't.
You know who Coach Saban took? You know who he took in Superdog today?
Who?
Vandy.
That's a big win for him then.
Mm-hmm. Him and Des got them both. Reese won again with Buffalo, 10-point dog, one on the field. I'm getting crushed.
It's fine. But Coach wasn't wrong when he said that the stadium gets taken over by the other team and it was easy to win there, because it was. But now it's not. And what they're building there, it feels like a real thing. And it doesn't mean that they're suddenly going to win the SEC. It just means that when you go to Nashville and your fan base is like, oh, cool, let's go to Nashville. A, it's going to be a great time, and B, we're going to beat the shit out of Andy. Well, you might have a good time, but then it might not be as fun on Saturday night, because you can't just book that anymore. So I was dead wrong. Terrible job handicapping that one.
I was with you on that one.
Well, I think a lot of people were, because it just felt like the all-time hangover spot of hangover spots. But if you're building something real and you're creating actual culture, not a bumper sticker, then you go and you play a game and you win a game. And they did. I'm trying to think if I wrote anything else down. I'm sure I'm forgetting things.
Yeah, you are.
What am I missing?
You know what's still going on?
Who?
Baseball.
Oh, let's go, Mets go.
I mean, Scott, I can't tell you how happy I was Wednesday night, because I didn't have to fly across the country with that anxiety waiting for Friday night, because Friday night was going to happen. I was going to have to, like, it. You just knew.
Well, hold on.
And I will say,
I'm going to get to it.
I forgot how much I fucking hate Philadelphia. I really did.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I told Nagandi we taped my hit yesterday, and Al Duncan's on the desk, and she was drinking a water or something. She spit it out. But I really did. I forgot. I'm getting soft in my old age, and I haven't been that happy in a long, long, long time.
You enjoyed that victory.
I did.
At what point will you Met fans stop looking around the corner for the boogeyman?
Never.
What a shitty way to be.
Yeah. It sucks.
Because here's the thing. If you always spend your life looking for the boogeyman around every corner, then you know what? You'll find him, because you'll make something into the boogeyman that isn't. Like, you created this angst for yourself that, woe is me, Eeyore. We're going to have to play him game 5, blah, blah, blah. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because you're going to beat him. And you did.
But if you take that anxiety and you put it into yourself and you put it out on the field, you'll let that Saints take care of themselves.
All right, well, optimism meter for this now Dodgers series.
I'm good. This is ice cream.
There we go.
Ice cream.
All right.
Ice cream.
Because you beat the Phillies.
Because this team has given me happiness I haven't felt in I don't know how long. And I'm being dead serious.
I know you are.
Like, I honestly, it'll be great. We went there, years back when we went to the World Series and we were an underdog and won. It's a totally different construction. To see those people at Citi Field, I'm just so happy that we get games at Citi Field.
I'll give him
one of my favorite venues.
I give him credit, because I said for years that the bank feels like an SEC football stadium. That place is madness. But and Citi Field, clearly, because it was the Phillies, was like, oh, okay, you want to see what we got? And I got to say, the Lindor home run and the absence of any emotion, that was one of the coldest things I ever saw, because the ability to just keep your head down,
lock in, man.
I mean, he's been so good. He's been so good, but to hit it, and then not even, I think every team's got something they do towards the bullpen or whatever. It seemed like maybe there was a little motion towards.
No, do the wipe.
Yeah, he did that, and that's fine. But if that's me, I'm doing cartwheels and I'm nude by the time I get to home plate. Nude, buns out, let them hang. I just hit a grand slam. What's up?
And all I'm thinking is we got to get 9 more outs, and God, they didn't make it easy.
No, because they do extricate a little bit of pain. I'll give you that. So, but this is a college football pod.
I know.
But if the man has, you heard him, happiness that he hasn't felt in God knows how long.
I don't. I honestly don't. It's incredible. It's awesome. It's awesome, and I'm embracing the journey.
That's what life's about. Really. And now we're red-eyeing it back from the West Coast.
Yeah, can't wait.
That'll be
how that's going to go.
You'll be daisy fresh.
This is good. Would you rather be the flight attendant on my red eye or the person sitting next to me?
I think the flight attendant, because you're going to be so far gone. Just do not do.
I'm not
the regional jet.
I'm not doing you. I'm not doing you.
I'll give it folks that don't know the quick Cliffs Notes.
Manhattan, Kansas.
The quick Cliffs Notes on the way out. I'm pretty sure it was Manhattan, Kansas. It might have been Baton Rouge. At the time, I was doing College Game Day features. I was doing ESPN Radio, and I was hosting SportsCenter. I would do radio, then I'd do SportsCenter, then I'd get up and take a 6 o'clock to wherever to do a feature for game day, fly back the same day. There was no private aviation in my life, which I don't know how I made it without it. And then I'd be back the next day to do radio. Let's just say your boy was kind of tired. And I'm on a regional jet going somewhere. And bless her heart, wherever you are, ma'am, from the bottom of my heart, I'm so sorry. I started to get the whim-whams. Now, the whim-whams are when you start to pass out a little bit, but you catch yourself. But I'm going to tell you, this was beyond whim-whams. This was full upright coma, where I pass out on the woman's shoulder, and she gives me a polite, she's shoving me, and I'm like, oh, God, I'm sorry. However, it was a temporary moment of, I'm sorry. And then I went full, I'm on this woman. I'm on her lap. And she's like 2 hands on her foot, like, get off of me. And I wake up. And I'm like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. I started, and she didn't care, nor it's not her problem that I got up early and have to go do race. She doesn't care. She just doesn't want a big 6'6" peepaw in her lap. That's not an unreasonable ask. Don't sleep on me.
Did you have drool?
I had to. I'm pretty sure if she would have checked the shoulder for DNA, there would have been it. My DNA would have been on her from a drool patch. Like, oh, it was bad. So in review, I would much rather be your flight attendant, because you're not going to be doing any participating with them. You're not going to ask for anything. Maybe a blanket.
Yeah, I am.
Are you?
Yeah.
You're going to keep this party going?
They don't give blankets or pillows out anymore.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I know you don't fly like this anymore.
That's not true. That's not true at all. That's not true at all. All
right, let's keep. You know what? We're going to keep a tracker then.
Of what?
We're going to keep a tracker how many times you fly dirty.
Flew up to Hartford a couple weeks ago. Thanks to.
All right, no, we're starting right now.
I'm starting today.
Right now.
Okay. Well, I mean,
you get to the old holidays.
All righty. Well, all right.
Anything
else? Anything else?
Yeah, I just want
shout outs.
I just want to say thanks again to the people in Eugene.
Did you swim?
No. You know what happened? The duck.
Puddles?
No, it's not. It's not puddles anymore. It's a duck.
I'm sorry. I thought it was.
You gotta be careful with that.
Sorry.
The duck supposedly had like a kiddie pool he was going to bring the set today, and he's like, go for a swim. And he forgot it because he got in a convertible. No, but I just want to say to the people of Eugene, man, it's been a long time. And it sucks being up on that desk and picking against you because they were so awesome. But that staff going up to Mr. Mullins and everybody, like, they took care of us like you wouldn't believe. My man Kenny Farr in the equipment room at Oregon. First time I picked against Oregon and I didn't win. I know he's going to text me. And he was super confident. He told me, I think you're wrong on this one. But they were awesome. Dan Lanning, they really got it going. And the Matt Kearney song, if you look it up, I think it's called Coming Home, but they sing it at the end of the first quarter, and it's an Oregon song. And it is, like, I was dripping out of my eyes watching that video because I know Oregon before it became this. And
when they were throwing urine at you.
Before that, it's Rich Brooks Field for a reason. And it was really cool to be back there. They're awesome. Scott, every single person watches SportsCenter and Bad Beats. It's primetime out. I say it all the time. You get out west, you don't understand it. They watch it and they love it. And I really appreciate those people because it's like I said, it sucks being up on that desk and picking against your team. And everybody was like, all right, I got you. Understand your pick. And then I'm walking down the sideline, big nuts up in the bleachers. Hey, nice pick. And then everybody else is like, oh yeah, you signed up for 4 quarters. So it's a genuine place. They needed this win to I didn't need it for them to establish themselves in the Big Ten, but it was a big moment for Oregon. It was awesome to be back here, and I want to say thanks to those people because they were awesome.
You can thank me, Oregon, because I picked you. I don't want any gear. I don't want any nothing. I don't need anything.
No, you might, bro.
No, I'm good.
It is tight. It's tight.
I bet it is. And I bet that you got a pallet coming back. Steve's going to have to get a cargo plane to fly his stuff back. But I picked you.
2 boxes.
What a day. What an absolute tremendous day. Last week was bananas. We didn't see that one coming. This was a day where you're like, all right, it's going to be awesome. And it was. And if this is sort of what the playoff's going to be like, which it feels like it will, the Penn State, USC in particular, those were conference games. They don't feel like it. Oregon, Ohio State, LSU, Ole Miss, Bama, South Carolina. I could keep going. There were so many just sort of coin flip. Gotta be signed up for 60 game days, and that's what the playoff will be. But that's a ways off. But you're right. Things start coming into focus, and apologies. This is a little bit like the old days of the newspaper when it would come out and it wouldn't have the West Coast scores. If you're an East Coast person, you know what I'm talking about.
We're fine.
We're not going to have a final for you on K-State, Colorado. Last week I went to bed.
What's the score?
Colorado got within 3, so the K-State's going to need to have an answer here late. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
But
I got to board a flight.
Steve's got to get on a plane, and last week going to bed at 4 and then getting up on a few hours of sleep for flag football was not the recipe for success in life. So we'll make it up to you.
Big one in the DMV tomorrow. Big one.
I think the Ravens will be tough to answer. I think Steve's got his left hand up. I think the Ravens are going to be the right side tomorrow. I'm happy if I'm wrong. Travel safe. Stanford Steve will be with me in New York on Monday night for Countdown. Got a big one there to set up. It's between the Bills and the Jets. Some stuff going on there, as you might have heard. Sunday night, we'll see you for SportsCenter as we normally do. Appreciate you hanging out late with us. What a day in college football. It's SVPod.